I don't know why, but you are watching the Madness Comic Network. Are you mental?
The Madness Comic Network and comic-related madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, and I hope you have some coffee. We're going to have a great show today. I am so happy to be here with all of you. If you're new to the show, hi, I'm Laurie Calcaterra. I'm the writer-creator of your favorite Western apocalypse series called Path of the Pale Rider. I know. It's kind of a classic now. I guess we could make a new one. We should. It's not like I got anything else going on. Hello, Grant. Hey, Ryan Clater. How are you? Everybody? Of course. It's Glenn. That's what you get this morning, Glenn. Good morning. Oh my goodness. It was a wild weekend, wasn't it, for everybody? We had all sorts of things happening, and at least add the new. Well, all right, fine. Okay, Pops, I'll work on it. I have to give you guys an update of some of the things I've been working on. Of course, Path of the Pale Rider 6. Issue 6 is done. The PDF. Okay, all right. The PDF dropped. And so if you were a backer on our last campaign, please go check your emails. You can read issue 6 digitally. The books have been ordered. I approved the proofs yesterday, and so they are printing, and I'm printing with Artist Express. Had a wonderful experience with them last time. They were pretty quick, so the turnaround last time was about a week. So I should be getting books very soon. And then I can start bagging, boarding, and shipping stuff out. The only thing I do not have in my possession is the Funko Pops, because they just take a long time. But usually they're right around when I start to fulfill, so we should be getting those. If you all didn't see, I have a new hot sauce flavor. Look how nice and red this is. I call this one Reaper's Regret, because I think that's on par for us, right? So it'll have a Reaper somewhere on it. But this, my friends, is bell pepper and Carolina Reaper. It's freaking hot. I put one and just like touched it out, and that was all I needed to know that it is too hot for me to eat. So once these are ready to be, distributed, you guys can have at it. Are you kidding? I don't think it's as hot as the one that Christopher Brown put together, his cherry balsamic vinegar one. I'm afraid. I'm literally scared to try that one, because he got 2 bottles and he put 4 Reapers in that sauce. So basically 1 bottle is 2 Reapers, and I can't do it. So I might be gifting that to one of my friends who like the hot sauce. This was 6 Reapers, and I think I got 12 bottles. So that is still too hot for me, friends. So there's that. I'm still rebinding some books I got here. Oh, I wanted to show you guys the puzzle. So I made, it's a 120 piece puzzle. Look how tiny these boxes are. These are the only boxes I could find, just so you guys are aware. It's still the same puzzle. It's the same size as the Lola puzzles that I have. You can't get the boxes anymore. I got them from Michael's. I couldn't find them on Amazon. Like, for whatever it is about that size, you can't get them anymore. So it's a little bit smaller, but it's the same puzzle. It's just crammed into this tiny little box. So it'll be better for shipping, I guess, but it looks like it wouldn't be. It's the same thing. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to fulfilling. I'm working on a bunch of different things. We have an idea of when we're going to launch issue 7, the big one, right? We're probably looking at July 18th. If you guys haven't signed up for pre-launch, you should do that. Just make sure that you get that notification. Let me drop it here. I should have had that up and ready, but you know me, that's whatever. Let me get that. So sign up for pre-launch. It just lets me know that you're following along, and that, I'm doing my job and people are aware that we're going to be launching this. I know a tiny does look cute, but it's like, I just want people to know I'm not ripping you off. It's the same. It's not shrinkflation. It's the same puzzle. But I don't know what it is about that size. Like I could have gone bigger, but I feel like that would, again, it causes problems with shipping. Anyway, here's the link to sign up for issue number 7. I already have variant covers coming in. I have 3 done. Someone's working on a 4th, and then there's 2 more that are coming. Hello, I was just talking about you and your hot sauce. We were gonna compare and contrast. Pops will be, I think, happy with yours compared to mine, but that's how life goes. Anyway, enough about me. Yeah, I love it. Travel size, I like it. Enough about me. I'm gonna bring in my guest today. First time on the show, but I think he and I are gonna be good friends. So I'd like you all to welcome Jason Strutz. Yeah, I know I'm a little afraid, Chris. Hi, hello, Jason. Welcome to the Tuesday Morning Brew. How are ya?
Hello, I'm doing very good, very good.
How is good old Michigan today? Is it chilly there?
No, it's actually pretty good today. It might be 40s, 50s, a real reasonable temperature. 52.
Time to move. Oh, I was teasing another friend of ours, Ray Jameson. He sent me a video last week, and it was snowing. He's in Canada, though. And I was just like, that's it. It's time to move. If you're getting,
It
yeah,
was
it's chilly out. Gosh, you
it was
guys.
snowing last week.
Did
Just
it
real
snow in
briefly in
Michigan?
the morning. Did snow
Ew,
here very briefly.
gross.
Yeah.
Don't believe you'll be okay. Glenn, you're not even in the States. What are you talking
I'm
about?
good. I'm good. Like this, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah.
There's some snow. It's cold. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, so
Okay.
nothing's bad.
I mean, I would
There's
think that Buffalo and Michigan, I mean, like they're about the same.
similar. Buffalo's
Yeah.
closer to the lake, so every once in a
Oh,
while you get 6 or 7 feet of snow in a
yeah.
couple days,
That's a
and
thing, people. Lake effect snow.
never happens here. So that's a plus.
Hey, Ryan's also a Michigander. Nice. It's
Yes,
balmy.
yes.
It is currently 73 today, and it's
Uh-huh.
going up to 86. I'm just saying. No? All right.
Nah,
No
can't
takers.
convince me.
No takers from the Michiganders. So, all right, so let's jump in then. So on the Tuesday morning brew, I love to hear how you got into comics. I want to hear your origin story, just because everybody comes from a different kind of walk of life, how we all got here. And I love to hear it. I love to, like what influenced you. I have a feeling you and I have similar interests, and just because I've read, your work and I've seen your art, so I have a feeling that we're gonna become besties here shortly. What's Yeah, we're gonna talk about this. Don't
We're
worry.
gonna get there.
We're gonna get there. Lived in
But yeah, as far as
Michigan.
where I come from, I guess. Um, so in comics, I've been doing art and illustration for forever. I've been drawing forever.
Nice.
Um, my mom likes to tell the story that there was some sort of cognitive test back in kindergarten where they had you draw a face, and you would get some amount of points for what you drew on the face. Like, how many details did you put on this face? And
Yeah.
and I blew the scale out. So that's
They're like, well, he's going into
so
art.
that's something. I've been trying to figure out ever since, like, what was that supposed to test? And
Right, in kindergarten.
I
Interesting.
think it was more of a like, well, if you really got it wrong, then that was a problem. But
Oh,
anything
that
above, like, you put eyes and nose and a mouth on it, you're good.
right, but
But
if you're missing the nose,
eyebrows
it's
and
like,
eyelashes and all the things.
gotcha, freckles, ears.
So yeah, I put all the stuff on
Smell.
there. So I've been drawing forever. So that has always been part of it.
Nice.
Um,
Did you
and
go to school for art?
yeah.
You
So
did?
even back in high school, I was doing illustration for the high school newspaper and
Cool.
all of any school project I could possibly draw or make something. I made some terrible like Salem witch exhibits for history class that they were supposed to stay in the back of the room for a couple weeks, and my teacher said I had to take it home.
Oh, no. It was that bad?
So
You're
I was
like,
doing that, and
"Please don't."
illustrating the Greek all the big Greek epic poems and all that. So lots of Medusa
Alright.
heads and things like that. Where whatever project I could do art for would be good. And then
Um,
yeah, I went to RIT in Rochester, New York for illustration,
nice.
which was kind of a art school with some business.
Mhm.
So a little bit of hoping you would make money when you left the school.
Well,
Uh,
at least giving you a fighting chance, you know what I mean? Because
yeah, yeah, yeah. A
like
little
a
bit of
lot of
business stuff.
artists, right, a lot of artists are so creative and they fall into that, I just wanna create things, and it's just like,
Yeah, it's
you have
tough.
to have
It's
that
a
business
thing
side.
that you have to work at. It's definitely a thing that I have to work at the most,
Mhm.
and I'm always trying to improve in that respect, certainly. But a lot of that was working to briefs in college. So that would be they would write up something. You'd have an assignment to draw,
Okay.
uh, and I've always enjoyed that more than someone saying like, oh, just paint what you feel, paint what you like. Uh, and I prefer to have something concrete to think about. I need a problem to solve. If I
Yeah,
don't have a problem to
exactly.
solve, it's
Exactly.
tougher to concentrate on it. Um, so I like that illustration. I graduated in like 2004,
Mhm.
and even then in illustration school, they're like, it's gonna be rough, guys.
Well,
Things
that
are
was
changing.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm from the same era. I graduated high school in 1999.
Yep.
I
Yep.
went to art school
Yeah.
as
Same time.
well, and it was like there was one computer art class,
Hmm.
but it was mostly a focus on painting and life drawing, and like I took photography. You know what I mean? Like they wanted you
Yeah.
well rounded, but it wasn't really. There was no focus on computer art. There was one class. That's
Hmm.
and I feel like if we had been born maybe 3 years or 4 years later, everything would have been different,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. No, I think it definitely would have. We had a good amount of computer stuff, but
We
like
did.
there weren't because it was mainly an engineering and technical school.
Yeah.
But just in terms of what existed at the time, there wasn't a
Mhm.
lot of good drawing tablets and things like that. So there were definitely digital illustration classes that I did, but it's pretty different from how things look
Yes.
now.
Right?
And then
So
no YouTube, no the social media parts of things, like all of that
right.
was not anything that we could cover. Like most of the business advice in the beginning was make postcards and send them to art directors. As
Oh,
quaint as that sounds, that was some of the business advice.
I was gonna say, can you imagine
I'm
doing
like,
that
wow,
now?
everything's
Oh
yeah,
my
completely
god.
different.
Well, and my question is when you graduated, like when you were in your college art, process, where were they trying to cater like what kind of career were you looking to do with
Like a
illustration?
yeah, like a book
Book
illustration,
illustration?
children's book illustration, some magazine or newspaper things which do exist, and I have people that I graduated with that do
Yeah,
editorial illustration. Um, so that stuff is still around. It's just tough and less less numerous, less lucrative than it used to be.
right.
Uh, but it still exists, and some of what I usually tell people who are trying to figure out what they want to do, you just have to keep doing it until something happens
Right,
or you
right.
die, I guess.
What
But
and then your art actually gets more expensive after you die.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. But like it's a fine way to spend your time.
Right?
Uh, you can't be overly concerned about
No.
where everything's
Get
coming from.
get to
As long as
work,
you want
right?
to live.
Exactly. That's why I tell people all the time, "Get to work, get to work. Just stay busy and things will happen." So
Yeah.
after okay, so you graduate from college with this
So
illustration
yeah,
degree.
the
Um,
illustration. I worked for about 8 or 10 years in sign design, doing graphic design and logos and printing and cutting vinyl and things like that.
uh-huh.
So I worked that in Rochester, New York, and then kind of began following my wife around for school and jobs. Uh, we got married around there, and then we moved to North Carolina to Chapel Hill, so she could go to UNC.
Cool.
So we moved there, 2005, 2006 or so. So I was working in signs and doing art that way, doing design stuff. And there's probably 50 to 75 landscaping logos in North Carolina that are still my designs. Uh, car wraps,
That's so funny because it's
weird
like
weird stuff like that.
yeah, where you're like landscaping, but also I do the zombie comic book.
Yeah, yeah. So
Hey,
I
good
did
morning.
that and started everywhere that I would move. I
Yeah.
I would make a like art night um, type thing at a bar or a coffee shop or things like that. And at one of those that I put together in North Carolina, I met a guy named Jeremy Whitley, who is a writer and was looking to start
Uh-huh.
making comics. So comics was something that I always enjoyed growing up, but never really was something that I did a lot of work in growing
Right?
up. Um, Mostly because I didn't know like how that would work.
Right. They don't teach
And
that in
and
art
certainly,
school.
yeah, not really cool.
No.
And like when I'm growing up, it's a lot of Marvel superhero type things, which I enjoyed. I read Spider-Man and X-Men stuff growing up in the 90s, but never really saw my way into there, kind of until I went to, it ended up at a comic convention, Heroes Con, in Charlotte.
We're trying to find the right thing.
Yeah.
There.
And
that's what I'm trying to do. Sorry, I pushed all the buttons while you were talking.
That's all right. So
what were you reading? You were reading.
So I was reading just the very end of like Jim Lee's Uncanny X-Men run, and then he started the normal X-Men, the adjectiveless X-Men. So I was around for that and all the Spider-Man stuff, but got kind of kicked off by not having the money to keep up with all of the giant stories. So like they did that Age of Apocalypse thing, and I just didn't have the money to keep up with the story.
Yeah.
And anytime like I would borrow friends, I would read it and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm missing part of this story. And then it turns out, I read it 15, 20 years later. I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. It's fine.
Oh, bummer.
It doesn't make sense now.
Yeah. That was the Marvel method too, where it's like, here's the art, write the story to match the art. And it's like, as a writer, when you do that, it's like, how am I supposed? Okay.
Yeah.
It
seems rough.
Yeah. You get stuff that people are like, I don't understand this. Hey, Brian.
So like for the most part, I was scared and didn't know how to do like the writing aspect of it. And I didn't know anyone who was a writer until
what did you do?
Meeting Jeremy in North Carolina.
How did you get into, like, how did you learn storytelling? How did you learn how to like plot it? Are you a plotter or a pantser? Like, how did that all happen?
In terms of writing, definitely a plotter. I need a plan. I need a plan. But I didn't know how to go from like, here's an idea for a story to like what this story is or what it could be, or writing a script or things like that.
Yeah.
So when I met Jeremy, that kind of opened that up, and I went to a few Comic-Cons and I was like, oh, this seems like something that I could do. I could make money. It's like an art fair, but like for stuff that I like.
Right. For stuff that I like. Yes.
Yeah. And art fairs are fun. They're fun to walk around, but it's I'm not going to be able to go there and sell like these zombies to people.
I've tried. It doesn't work.
It can be rough. I do some of them now, and they're not too bad. I kind of enjoy them now.
Jason is in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to Mockingbird Lane Comic-Con in the fall. It's Seguin, which is closer to San Antonio, Texas. So I mean, it's a hike for me. You'd have to fly. Brian would love for you to come, but I don't know. You gotta fly yourself in. That's not a driving one.
Yeah, that would be a long haul.
Yeah, that would be a long haul.
So I met Jeremy, and we started working on a book together. So as far as learning that storytelling thing, I did a lot of reading, a lot of Scott McCloud making comics and understanding comics, and all those beautiful, wonderful books that I still recommend to people. But did a lot of learning, and then a lot of making comics that were ambitious, if not exactly narratively suited. So I look back at some of those, and I'm like, what was I doing?
I mean, we all go through that, but
and like my first our first book was one called The Order of Dagonet, and it was a fantasy book, a modern fantasy book about an order of knights, the Order of Dagonet, who were comprised these days of entertainment figures. So Elton John,
gotcha,
writers and rock stars and things like that. But this order used to be a different thing back in Arthurian times, and they are tasked with saving the world from the invading fairy creatures. So everybody from Midsummer's Night Dream coming back and threatening modern day England.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun book. I had fun working on it. I was doing crazy like airbrush and colored pencil, everything on the page type art.
Cool.
And it was fun. And we got ended up with 6 or so issues of that.
Mm-hmm.
Had it come out from a small publisher. And we both, Jeremy and I, both started getting work from other people. So money. So then some of that falls by the wayside. Some drama with the publisher, of course, and so we sort of didn't finish that story. Which again, which would be advice for people working on stories: always start with something small
Right.
thing, and that way you can finish it and you can do something else.
That's hard.
Yeah, if you are, it's possible that if you are good enough, someone will come and offer you money to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to leave yourself open for that. So don't start with your giant epic. And this wasn't going to be a giant epic. It was going to be about 10 or 12 issues, but didn't get to finish that. But we both have moved on to big different things. I don't know about bigger and better things, but certainly bigger things.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, he writes a book called Princeless that was coming out from Action Lab, which we don't like. But Princeless hopefully is coming back soon, and he's written for Marvel, doing the Wasp series and a bunch of other graphic novels and things for kids. I think the most recent one was Navigating with You, which is like a queer romance story. Before that was The Dog Knight. Great stuff. Excellent writer. I also show up on his podcast, which you might enjoy as well, called Progressively Horrified. It's a movie chatting podcast. So we pick a movie and talk about it.
Nice.
And coming from like, is this horror movie that we're asking unfair questions of? Is it a feminist movie? Is it what's going on with this movie?
There's another show that I have been on that's a movie related show that's pretty good called Movie Smash, and Chris Roberts is usually in the chat today, so he might show up at some point. But
cool.
I like that one too because all the movies on their list that you can pick from are all started as a comic book or a graphic novel turned into a movie. So they have like the movie buff, and then they have like the comic book guy, and then they have like your average Joe on that show. So that one's fun to do too, because you get like all three perspectives of like, were they truthful to the adaptation, and like
like how does this work as an adaptation? How does it work as an independent story, a movie?
Right.
Yeah, that's always interesting to figure out.
So do you have any background in movie production or movie script writing?
No. The closest that I came to that was doing some work for Full Moon Entertainment, Full Moon Features, and they do like the Puppet Master movies and Killjoy and Evil Bongs and things like that. So I did some work for them. We did a kind of a motion comic intro and outro to a clip show thing of all of the gory scenes of the movies.
Yeah.
So me and my friend Brockton McKinney did like wraparound stories that they turned into some motion comics, which are pretty fun, but also unfindable right now.
There's a reason why I ask is because when I read The Returned, I immediately saw it as a movie playing in my head.
That is kind of what I'm aiming for in some ways. I'm not. I have no illusions here that someone's going to come and pay me a ton of money to make a movie, but
it could happen.
Like that is the kind of storytelling that I want to go for. Something that moves, something that like is actiony, has that kind of scope of a movie. And I guess while I was learning writing, I did spend a lot of time with screenwriting books.
Okay. Save the cat.
Because, yeah, Save the Cat stuff.
Love
Like
Save the Cat. It's a
it's
great
a
book.
little hokey, it's a little
There
hacky,
you
but
go.
like it gets you to a place, it gets you somewhere, it gets you
Yeah.
something on the page to work with, and that's more what you
Yeah.
need than like it telling you what to do.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, I love Save the Cat because when it comes to writing, it's like you have to realize that the character's actions are telling the people about the character. So it's like
Hmm.
you can introduce a character with very little dialogue based off of how they move through the world. So I definitely took that to heart when I wrote
Oh
my
yeah,
own series. But
yeah.
I
I
think
think it's a real good book.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I learned a lot from that. Script for for Return started, started with those beat
yeah.
sheets and things like that, just to give you something to start with. Um, so I
And
spent a
why
lot of time with
zombies?
screenwriting books for learning writing uh, for Returned here. So
Yeah,
that's a high compliment. It worked, I guess.
right. I see it.
Feels like a
I
movie.
100% see it. Yeah, I think it was great where it just catches you in the action right from page 1 and off it goes. And there's no down time. Like there's no rest.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it
It's just
moves. It
he's
moves pretty quick.
constantly driving. Yeah. There's
And
always
in terms of saving the cat, I took that to heart. So right on the first two or so pages of
yeah.
Returned, like
Yes.
there's a save the cat moment,
Mhm.
and you're like, oh yeah, I know this person is the good person.
Right.
And about 20 pages later or so, there's a kill the cat moment with the same person, and
Well,
you're
that's
like,
what I
oh,
think is,
well, this is different.
that's what I think is original about your story because I wanna talk about the zombie genre with you. Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
did you decide because I have multiple scripts, right, out
Mhm.
there, and, Path of the Pale Rider has always had a soft spot in my heart. I think it has the most potential, but I had artists just understand from the get-go that it was undead and pass without even opening a page because it was zombie
Mhm.
related. And so
Yeah,
that genre gets a bad rap right now. It's been done, it's jumped the shark, we've seen it before.
yeah.
But
It can be tough to do something new with
yeah,
the genre, and and I'm not saying that even my work is new. It's building on that stuff.
it's
It's
new,
not
new.
a like, oh, a whole new take on zombies. Like, no, I'm using the shorthand of zombies
I wouldn't say
to
it's
tell a different story.
you're right, it's the perspective of the story that's different. Um,
Yeah, so I wanted to go with like a first person type of zombie uh, story. Like uh, in terms of influences, I think a lot of
yeah,
it came from playing the video game Dark Souls. So Dark Souls, uh, you
that
are
makes
an
sense.
undead
Uh-huh.
type person, and so I'm running around, hitting things with a sword and everything. And I'm like, I was a person before. Like, do I know any of these people
Mhm.
that I'm hitting with a sword? Uh, so some of it came from that. Otherwise, I've always liked zombie stuff.
Okay. I was
The
gonna say,
Romero movies, and
how far back have you seen I mean, you and I are the same age, so I'm assuming you started Romero and went from
yep,
there.
yeah, yeah. So Romero, Peter Jackson, Dead Alive. Uh,
Mhm.
so enjoyed that stuff growing up. Um,
I
and into college, I was a person, showing people terrible horror movies
I think the
in
Zack Snyder
college.
remake was great, though. I think people
Yeah,
got
yeah. No, I
yeah,
think
that was
that was
great.
also was good. Yeah.
There's been a lot of bad
Um,
zombie too. Like,
there's
Jason, how do
been
you feel
it's an
about
easy it can be an easy thing to work with because it's
mm,
something you can do in your basement and cover someone in dried oatmeal and you're done.
right,
Like it
but I
can be
mean,
easy and cheap to do.
in this day and age, it's difficult because with all, like, the high res cameras, it's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's oatmeal." But really,
That's
you
got
need to
charm
tell
to
me
it
how
too.
you feel about World War Z.
World War Z. In terms of the book, I really enjoyed the book because it was a different look at the zombie thing. And the movie was fine, but they turned it into a movie. I would have preferred like the World War Z movie as made by Ken Burns. Like I want the Ken Burns World War Z, which is what the what that book and what the audiobook especially is really good. Is what that book was. That sort of news reports of zombies. Like what would that look like? And movie again was fine. I enjoyed the scope of the movie. You don't get zombie things
that
with
big,
that kind of scope.
No.
And I feel Return sort of has that kind of scope thing to it, which is why I'm thinking like no one's going to come ask to make a movie of it the way that it is, at least, because it's a Lord of the Rings size book. It's a Lord of the Rings size story.
I feel like Path is the same, where it's so big at times people are going to take one look at the price tag that it would take to make this thing, and they're just going to shy away. But it doesn't mean that we're not
plenty of ways to do it.
But we're going to tell the story anyway. I'm with you. You can stay on the show.
Oh, thanks.
I have a hot take on World War Z. I hate it.
Yeah. What's your thoughts here?
Well,
book versus movie.
The book is great. The book is great. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed that it was a retelling from all over the world, and that this journalist was collecting the stories from the source of the people. I will act for free, Laurie. Oh yeah. Yeah. Here's Chris Roberts from Movie Smash. See, I told you he'd show up. But I agreed with this. Right. This should have been a TV show, and like each chapter could have been an episode where it starts out almost like Interview with a Vampire style, where the journalist is sitting down with the person at a table, starts the recorder, and it's just like, okay, let's talk about it. And so you get some of that conversation, and then you get like the flashback, and you get the action from that character's point of view. I think that would have been, a more, yes, I know you can be Dwayne. Thank you. See, okay, Dustin is with us, but that would have been like a more accurate retelling of the story instead of throwing Brad Pitt there with the name of Jerry.
Sure.
And just letting him, be Brad Pitt. And it's like,
just
none
Jerry.
of this
Jerry's just going to show up everywhere.
Jerry shows up and Jerry solves it all, and Jerry. But it's like none of that. Like Jerry didn't do any fighting. Jerry was never with the Marines. Jerry never went to the CDC headquarters. That was none of that happened, guys. And so that was my whole take on it. So it's like, why didn't we just do
I think that's very fair. Yeah.
Why didn't we do the book? Hi, John Westhoff. How are you, man? Good morning. Anyway, so
Ken Burns asked for too much money.
Is that what it was? I mean, they spent the most money. Instead of spending that money on Brad Pitt, they could have spent it on Ken Burns, and I bet you it would have been the same.
I like the idea that maybe Ken Burns came in with a quote that was higher than hiring Brad Pitt and doing a lot of CG zombies. Like, no, Ken Burns wants like $50 million to do this movie.
Yeah, it would have been worth it. I don't know.
I have no idea if Ken Burns is interested, but that sort of style, like both kind of going towards like, didn't capture what the book was. What the book.
Hire a Jude. I have Jude picked out. Well, I have 2 Judes picked out because you got to have a backup plan, right?
Yeah. Do you have actors for your book?
I have fan cast.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, no one had. Not no one. We don't have actors for our book,
right?
But people
I really
that
wish
you
I did, but
imagine could be in your movie.
Well, I have 2, and you tell me what you think, because Jason, since you've read Path, you can tell me. I think either Jensen Ackles could do Jude St. Clair. He has that rough look. He can grow a beard. He can be super sarcastic. So I think he would be my first pick, and then Scott Eastwood for my second pick.
Oh, okay. Yes.
That same kind of rugged look, but like still ties to that Western genre. The Clint Eastwood, movies is kind of where we live in Path of the Pale Rider, so I don't know. What do you think about those?
Yeah, I think both of those would work really good. I think all of my touchstones are ending up too old. Like, oh no,
I know.
He can't do that.
Right.
He can barely get on a horse now.
I know. That's the hard
Uh,
part. It's like, and the longer we go, we're gonna have to pick someone else because we're all
yeah,
getting
exactly.
older,
Just
dude.
keep
That's
moving.
really good.
Just keep moving the goalposts.
Right. Dang it. So zombies
But
have
yeah,
a
so
special place in your heart, as they
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Cold, dead heart and
So I
mine.
was enjoyed zombie stuff,
So
and yeah, it seemed like a fairly uh,
who's Douglas Booth?
in terms of subject matter, zombies are pretty easy to draw because you can't really draw them wrong.
That's a good point.
So you can't draw zombies wrong, and then I'll set it in a medieval time because then I don't have to draw cars. I hate drawing cars.
Good point.
So it's medieval time. Nothing has to be super in perspective, and I don't have to draw cars. And I can kill off all the horses, so no
Yeah.
horses.
You and I get along in that part too. I've killed
So in
off.
terms of a
Come for me.
first book that I'm going to write and draw,
Yeah.
I'll make the drawing easy, and the writing the thing that I'm learning.
I see. I see.
But yeah, no, I love horror stuff. I love zombie things, and it works well as a metaphor for lots of stuff. But specifically, this book was kind of written around. I think you've talked about this before in your family, but written around the idea of dementia and parents, and kind of in some ways someone losing themselves to something.
Yeah.
In the real world, that can be a dementia. My father had FTD, frontal lobe, temporal lobe dementia, which is an especially tough one because you lose a lot of personality, and things can change pretty drastically.
Is that one of the more
personality?
Rapid?
Yeah, fairly. Yeah, it's a fairly rapid one.
Okay.
So like his, I had seen him maybe 4 or 5 months before he started having real problems, and maybe something was a little off, but not what was being reported by the rest of my family that that lived with him. So it was somewhat inspired by that as well. So zombie works well for that kind of metaphor.
Yeah.
Horror, I love horror as a metaphor. I'm not generally in it other than these things I'm drawing now. Not generally in it to gross people out or anything like that. I'm in it to
That's my whole goal in life.
use it to tell a story that maybe you could only tell in this way, or using these kind of horror tools. And then it also helps people sometimes remove that from real life, in that do you want to read my very dry nonfiction account of my father, or do you want to read a book about zombies?
Zombies, yeah.
I can trick people into
feeling
looking
the feeling.
at things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I feel the same, where it's like, these are some of the things that have traumatized me, and I can tell them using this vehicle, and you can feel the feels, and join me in my trauma.
Yeah. But then it also works as a
entertainment,
fantasy story. Yeah,
and you still get to suspend reality for a little bit, and you go walk around a different world and wonder how it all works. You know what I mean? I would love to play the video for Returned and then talk more about the story, just so everybody is aware that the main campaign is over. Late pledges are still enabled, so you can get, what is it, Jason? You can get the digital. Can you get physical?
Yeah,
as
so you
well?
can get the PDF copy of Return through the end of this month.
Okay.
So the Kickstarter campaign, the print copies are over for now, but there's a bunch of different ways to read the book. In that you can go to returnedcomic.com to read it for free as a webcomic. Comes out every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's a 4-part story. So after every part, I do a Kickstarter. So this is the Kickstarter for part 1 that we're looking at now. Just finished up the end of March. Super happy with where that ended up. very excited. It's my first Kickstarter that I've run on my own. I've been involved in various ones, but this is the first one that I've put together myself. So this will be the first of 4 Kickstarters to tell the story, and then hopefully a big Kickstarter at the end to get a collected book together. So there'll be plenty of chances for people seeing this who might not have been in on the campaign to either get that PDF or go read it on the website. And I've just started putting out part 2 this past week. So
very cool.
Plenty of opportunities. Nothing is sealed away behind the Kickstarter wall. But yeah, go ahead and you can take a look at the video here.
Very cool. All right. Play.
A medieval army of the dead, wielding swords, spears, and teeth, are hell-bent on wiping out the living. Vale and her fellow warriors make a last stand when a new figure appears, leading the undead. Meeting her end in the chaos, Vale's body is conscripted into the horde. However, her spirit finds itself still tied to her ravenous corpse, forced to witness but powerless to stop the ongoing extinction. As the undead reach Driftwood, the last great city of humanity and Vale's home, a second chance comes from the family she fought to protect, but thought she would never see again. Back now to get this limited edition print copy of Part 1, and follow Part 2 at returncomic.com.
I mean, what's not to like, you guys? that was
big
awesome.
Epic zombie stuff.
Yeah.
So that trailer was put together by my friend Brockton McKinney, a film writer, director, comics writer guy, currently working on some Rick and Morty things.
Oh, it's so cool. Is that all? Just Rick and Morty?
Just Rick and Morty, whatever.
It's fine.
Put that together for me. So
you told me you wrote something, but holy shit, you didn't tell me you wrote something this good. Here he is, Brockton McKinney.
So yeah, he was one of my early test readers as well, where I'm putting together this script and I need to show it to people to make sure that it makes sense as a story.
Yeah.
Definitely first writing things sounding board. So he helped with the development of this as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is this? All right. So I read the first book, obviously. And the main story, you guys, is about this woman, this warrior woman who is defending her family from this horde of the undead. She becomes undead. And it's like she's watching her body do things and she has no control over, which is so sad. And it's such an interesting perspective, Jason, to see, the camera is like inside of her mouth. So you're looking out from behind her teeth, which of course is the weapon of zombies, right? And so that's how they end and resupply their numbers. So it's just interesting that the story is being told from, it's like this blue hovering soul that's attached to this ravenous zombie. And what she's feeling and how helpless she feels that she can't do anything with this body. And then this thing shows up. Tell me about this green thing. You can tell me to wait for the next one. Yeah. That's okay too. Like, I get it.
So I'll tell you a mix of the two there.
Yeah.
Mix of the two. So we start the book very in the middle of things. This is sort of towards the end of a sort of epic fight against this army of the dead that has been just destroying everything as it goes across the developing countryside. Medieval story, so everybody's still working on making cities and things like that. And there's a flying castle that these small group of warriors that includes Vale here have seen, but have never really had to experience very much. And then it shows up at the place that they're having this fight at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
And out of that castle comes that green guy. So it's in terms of visual inspiration, it's sort of taken from a jade sort of funeral dress from China, where it's just these like rectangular chunks of jade. They're kind of like chain mailed together. And with this sort of woodsy stump head on it. And this is the person, the thing, the entity behind that castle, behind the dead, continuing to walk around and kill other people. So this is sort of this is an early introduction to the big bad of the story.
Right.
You're not going to see again for a little bit.
And that's okay.
I wanted to sort of intimate and sort of, bring across to people that there is something behind this, because a lot of zombie media, they tend to skip over like why this is happening, because it doesn't make any sense for the most part. Like,
right. Thank you.
If everyone was dead but still walking around, you wait 6 months and you're good. Like,
right.
There has to be, in my head, if I was going to write something, I felt there had to be some sort of reason that this was happening. And I hope by sort of introducing like a big mysterious element in the beginning, it sort of drags you through towards like, oh, this is going somewhere.
Right.
There's something else that we don't know what's happening. We see the zombies, and that's fun. There's swords and everything, but also there's this flying castle and this dude, who seems to be in charge,
right?
And is a real nihilistic jerk.
Well, a couple things come to mind when I saw this. So flying castle makes me think of Dracula. Like the whole Castlevania series, where his castle was a vehicle and he could relocate it. And then this garb, it made me think of another Netflix series that's zombie related. It's what's it called? It's just called Kingdom. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I recommend it. It's based on feudal China, and
well, that makes sense.
Zombies based off of but their mechanism was like a flower. But it was almost like Game of Thrones, where they had brought back a king from the dead. So that way, like his wife was pregnant. So when he just had to be seen as alive until she gave birth, and then she could claim that her son was now heir, as opposed to them filling the throne with somebody else. And but then of course everything goes wrong and it gets out. So but that's a great series. You should watch it.
Yeah, people have told me about this, and I still haven't done it yet, but I will.
Yeah,
I will check that out.
You have nothing else to do, right?
But yeah, and that's and that's good, because you picked up on that, or at least they picked up. We're picking up similar influences.
Yeah,
that the Chinese funeral garb for very fancy people. But also that Game of Thrones Army of the Dead thing was also part of the building of this and the thinking of this, in terms of like who are all those people in this army? Like who's that?
What's the purpose behind this individual? What is their goal? But I like how you didn't give us too much information, because for someone like me, now my gears are turning and I'm like, all right, what is this person doing? Why are they doing this? And we get some bubbles. There's some very cryptic, dialogue with this individual, and you're not even sure if it's them that's saying it, but you hear this person talking and you're like, who is saying this? And you're like, so I tend to think it's this green, funeral garb person, but still it's like, I really don't know. And so I love how this
something
issue
that shows up while they're there, but then also seems to be able to communicate with the dead army there.
It's interesting. I love how
keeping that thread going.
Yeah, absolutely. But the focus was basically on this female warrior and her family, and I'm very interested in how it's going to continue in the next book. Let's see. Do you have? Yeah, And so, like, guys, in this one, you see it under, see where my cursor is. Doo-doo-doo. Oh, why did that do that? Here. So this panel on this page underneath, you see this blue outline and the blue words? That's her talking, which is amazing. You know what I mean? I've never seen a story told from the struggle within, from a person that's a zombie. You know what I mean? Are they? Because that's always the question. Like, are they still in there? You know what I mean? Are they still
Yeah,
human?
that's definitely the impetus behind the story. And there's
Right.
there's only a few other things that I can think of that are, have that sort of more first person account of turning into a zombie.
Mhm.
There's a 90s movie called I, Zombie, but not I, Zombie, the comic or the TV show that
Right.
was recent.
That is terrible.
But this is like a reporter turning into a zombie, and it's kind of like a diary
Yeah.
sort of movie. Another sort of influence on it in the book or the movie that I did on the last time I was on my friend Jeremy's podcast, Return of the Living Dead 3,
Okay. Yeah.
which is fairly unrelated to the other two, but is about boyfriend girlfriend.
Mhm.
Girlfriend, they have a motorcycle accident, and the girlfriend dies, and the guy whose father is a military researcher has been working on how to weaponize zombies.
Oh God.
And they figured that out, and so he's like, oh well, I can take her to this military installation, and I can bring her back to life.
Dun, dun,
So they spend this movie, like he brings her back to life, and she's not exactly happy about it all the time. It's a good fun movie to watch. There's also many things that I learned that I probably shouldn't do from the movie. It's not perfect in many ways, but
I
it has
only
that
laugh.
sort of like, oh,
Gosh.
zombies and love, and who were these people, and like, how do we move forward from where we are now? Has a lot of those aspects.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to watch the bad stuff and analyze why it's bad.
Yeah.
You know?
And
So
there's
you can
probably
learn from it.
there's also good stuff in there.
Right. There's usually some, I mean, how else do they get a green light? There had to be some redeeming quality
Yeah.
about it at some point before, like, either they edit the crap out of it and it becomes unintelligible. It's hard when it's a movie production. It's like, the breakdown could have happened anywhere. Like, the casting could have been off. The script could have holes in it, or, maybe it was too long and they had to cut. They had to edit down for time, and then you lost that moment that explained or tied everything together. So there's a lot of places where it's like, maybe this would make more sense if they had just, if they had been able to make it in the way that they wanted to.
Yeah. I think some of what this movie does was more themes and more like looking at it with today's eyes. You're like, well, he did sort of like completely remove bodily autonomy from this person, and also she might still like him. There are definitely unanswered questions.
Yeah.
In that movie, where I'm like, is this really romantic? I'm not sure.
I've talked about that, how with a genre, there's always this progression where it starts out as creepy and then it gets more scary, right? And then it becomes almost campy. And then when it gets to romance, it's time to reboot the whole thing.
So yeah,
we've done this.
In terms of rebooting, this movie comes out in like 94. And
yes.
There's like not a lot of zombie stuff until you get back to
right. But I mean, like, we did this with vampires, where like vampires were creepy, then they became scary, then they became campy and comedy, right? And then we had Twilight, and then it's like, reboot the whole damn thing. And now we have Nosferatu, we're back to scary. Same thing with werewolves, and then zombies. It's like, how do you get romance out of zombies? But they did it. They did Warm Bodies, and shame on them. So it's like, reboot it. We need to reboot it, please. I love how you have a trigger warning here. I'm not this nice to people, but I just wanted to chuckle with you. This parental death, pervasive danger, existential dread, and gore, supportive partners, excited kids, vengeful gods. The kid does not die, though. and no
Mhm,
dogs
mhm.
for good measure. And I have done all of those things, and I killed the horse. So
You did kill the horse, yeah.
yeah,
Early too, yeah.
we killed the puppy, and my husband was like, you just killed all the worst 3." And I was like, "Well, I didn't kill any kids." He's like, "Yeah, you did in issue 5." And I was like, "I did? Oh, yeah,
And
I did.
uh,
I certainly did."
I do specify like kids are involved, but the main
Right.
kid that you're really gonna like is safe. I don't I don't want to like make someone super invested in a kid and then
Kill them off.
have them die. Uh, I felt that was maybe a bit too far.
I only maniacally laugh for no good reason. Forever Night, Moonlight, Everyday Twilight. Oh, goodness.
But yeah, those zombie movie inspirations, video game stuff, and this whole story started as a 24-hour comic, which is an event that takes place in early October at comic shops and libraries, and someone you probably find one near you, where the idea is you sit down and you work for 24 hours straight and try to make a 24-page comic, written and drawn, and you come in with nothing, no script, nothing started. I run events, or was running events up till 2020, but I run events. I always tell people to have an idea. Don't come in with nothing.
Yeah, at least have something.
Have an idea. Don't write anything down, but have an idea of what you're doing. Think about it. But yeah, the idea is, we would sit down at noon on Saturday and draw till noon on Sunday.
Oh my gosh!
To try to make a 24-page book. And this was this story. It was called Veil at the time. Was my like 2018 24-hour comic that I did. And looking at it, like while I'm working on it, I'm like, oh, there's a lot more here. But I don't have time, and I don't have the story, as planned as I would want it to be. But there's a lot of meat on these bones. So there's a very breakneck speed version of this story told in 24 pages. That's going to show up, as we continue through Kickstarters and big books and things like that. I haven't decided exactly where it's going, but there is a very short version of this story out there that I did for this 24-hour comic event that I put on. And so that was kind of the incubation of this. Mm-hmm. And I think by the time 2019 came around, I had done this like, I think 5 times and come away with 24-page books. So I decided at that point, my next challenge was, hey, can I make a book that I really spend time on? Can I finish a big book in a year? If I can finish 24 pages in a night, I should be able to do a big book in a year, right?
Right, because we didn't mention that this is not a 24-page book. This is not a 24-page book, guys. This is 48 pages.
Yeah. So first book is the print book is 54 with all the extra stuff, but there's 43 pages of comics in the first part. Part 2 is 39 pages. Part 3 is 40, I think. And part 4 is like 28. Wow. So altogether, it's like a 155-page book. It's all written. It's all planned out and drawn, laid out and lettered. And now I'm just working through doing all the final art on it. So inks and colors. So the whole thing is planned. Nothing. I'm not making it up as I go along. Right. I like to have that plan. I need a plan.
I'm with you. I'm a plotter, not a pantser as well. So I'm always amazed when someone sits down and has no idea where their plot's going and they just write. And I'm like, how do you know it's going to be any good? Like, how do you know you're going to develop your character where they need to be in order to, do you have an ending? Like, do you not know where? Okay. Like that stresses me out.
I kind of get the idea, and that like, you'll figure it out as you go. And then you go back and do other things. But
right.
Especially with the first book, I needed a plan. I needed a solid plan.
I was like, I have a beginning and an ending usually when I sit down. And then I know what things I need to develop in order to get to that ending, right? Mm-hmm. And so I have a plan of how to get there. and I have a plan of what I do in every issue for the most part. There could be a one-off because of where the story is going, but I usually have a plan. So when people sit down and they're like, I don't know, the character will tell me which way the story goes. I'm like, wow, I have a problem. But this is cool. So if you guys, you notice that Jason has been working this whole time, this is what he's doing. So print book was sketched and numbered book plate. So how many of these are you working on?
25 to do.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay.
No, that's great.
4 there, almost up to 8 here.
Yeah.
So continuing.
He
with
looks
a good chatting
shocked that
exercise.
His head is in 2 pieces.
I would be too.
Oh no. That's amazing. Where do you draw inspiration for these?
So I have
do you have these planned out? What poses you're doing?
No, these aren't planned out, but I have these ancient woodcuts and engravings of weapons and armor and things like this. So whenever I'm drawing crowd scenes, I go through these type of books and be like, well, that's a cool helmet. That's fine. I'll use that.
Heck yeah, man.
Because it is a medieval horror book, but it is not necessarily set on Earth. It's not in any particular time.
Right.
I'm gleefully being ignorant of any historical realities here.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, what kind of research did you do in order to put your characters in that time?
I watched Army of Darkness. That was my research.
Hilarious.
And I before this, I had been working a bunch in RPG illustration, doing Dungeons and Dragons type art. So I've been in that sort of medieval fantasy world for a bit. So I'm doing illustrations for various publishers. I was working as an art director and a full-time illustrator for one of them, and that ended in 2023, and then went back to being a full-time freelancer person, and refocusing on this book, because this book, I did the 24-hour comic in 2018, and then 2019, I decided that my daughter was going to be going to full-time school in 2019 school year. So previously she had been in half days, so that gives you 2.5 hours or something to work. Not a lot. So I decided to kind of use the rest of 2019 to learn some writing, and then I would have a project to work on when she went to full-time school in the school year of 2019 to 2020.
That didn't work.
That didn't work out.
Crash
didn't
and burn.
work out quite the way that anyone wanted it to.
No.
So this got backburnered as I was a full-time teacher aide, keeping my daughter online, and surviving myself. But I cut down a lot of freelance stuff and everything, and just sort of hunkered down with everybody. But things kept happening. Kept working on illustrations. Got that full-time job. Had that for a year. And so I had this book sort of backburnered, but I was doing layouts for it and kind of getting ready, but had no real plan of what I was going to do. So I didn't know what the heck was happening next. So when that job ended, I was like, well, I have this book. That will be my thing. I'm just going to do this book next and see how that goes, because that's something that I can control. I can do all the I can do all the parts of it. And
that sounds great, but I know better, because if you want the book done, you got to do it. There's no one else involved. There's no one else there's no downtime. Like for me, I write and then I letter. So there's downtime when my two artists guys, right. They're doing stuff and I could focus somewhere else. But you,
Mhm.
sir, if you want it to get done, you have to do it. So
I got to do it, but I like that.
you,
It's a little bit of control freak, but also,
yeah,
anxiety about handing
yes,
handing it over to someone else and thinking about their schedule. And some of this, me wanting to work on my own, was just not having to subject someone else to
crazy
my dad's
schedules.
schedule.
Hmm.
Like, well, I've got a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old at home. She could be sick all day. I could be up all night with her. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get your job done
Yep.
if I haven't gone to sleep.
Right.
And had that happen, a few times with people, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't really subject people to my schedule right now. So that was my part of my push for being independent in kind of the way that I am, is like not to burden someone else with my insanity.
Yeah. I get
Um,
that. Some of us don't
but
need
also
you.
also admit to some control freakness and all that. I'm
Yes,
always
but some of
terrified when
us
I have to
can't
send a
don't I
book out
mean,
to get lettered by someone else.
yeah, yeah.
I leave enough room. Is there
Yeah.
space for everything?
Yeah, that's one of the big things when I letter. There's a lot of times I'll ask my artist, Gilbert Perez, to send me his
Mhm.
pencil layer first. So I'm like, don't spend a ton of time refining things. Let me make sure all the dialogue will fit,
Oh,
and I'll
good.
give
Yeah,
him
yeah, yeah.
notes. Right. So he doesn't have to like redo an ink page. Oh God.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, that's exactly how I've been working. So I have those
Mhm.
layouts that are all done, and
Yep.
they're all lettered.
Yep.
And there's
That's when
definitely
it should
times
happen.
when I go to do the lettering, and I have to take that layout panel and just shrink it down because
Right? Shift
there's
it to
not
the
space for
left.
what needs to happen there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Either that or I'm
so I
rewriting
like
dialogue.
having that lettering there. And sometimes even I'm working for somebody else and it's going to get lettered by someone else. I'll rough in some lettering
That's
just to be like,
smart.
oh yeah, this should work.
It should fit.
It should fit.
Eek. Yeah. So are
Um,
you working on other books besides your own
no, not
currently?
currently.
Currently,
Uh,
it's like, yeah, I mean, I feel that way too. At some point, I take on too much and I have to take a step back and remind myself, like, look, if Path is gonna get done, I have to do it, right? There's no
yeah,
one else that does my advertise. There's no one else that does my commercials. There's no one else that's writing. And so if I'm not doing it, it doesn't get done. So as much as I would love to be involved in everybody else's projects, I have to say no.
yeah,
Um, you
yeah.
just
I
got
think
to.
that makes sense. I'm generally doing. I'm open to like single illustrations and covers and things like
Yeah.
that. Uh, Graphic design projects for clients that I already have, but for the most part, not taking on other new stuff.
Books.
And
Yeah.
see how this goes and give this the best the best chance of success, which is just me working on it.
So on top of starting with art and then learning how to write,
Hmm.
figuring out how to make your own comic, and then having to market. So where did you start with that? Like you said that you had been part of other Kickstarters, but I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
what took you that path? And this one was obviously successful, guys. I've been scrolling through, but you guys can see like this one obviously met its goal. So
Yeah, so it was.
yeah,
Uh,
gosh.
Granted, I had a very low funding uh, threshold. It because all the work was done, because I was putting it out as
Right.
a webcomic, and because I'm just working for myself and I don't have to pay someone else. This Kickstarter was more of a like, well, how many do you want me to print?
Yeah.
Like 50 is the minimum viable quantity to print, so that's my start. I'll print
Mhm.
50. I'll print 100. I'll print 150. Um, just tell me how many you guys, the internet, wants. Um, so very low goal, but I did meet that goal first day, like 7 hours or something.
Yeah, but
Um,
still for
so
I mean, for a
great.
first time running a Kickstarter ever to come in and to blow your goal away and end up at 3,000, is a pretty good accomplishment.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
super happy with it.
yeah.
But yeah, as far as marketing, so my Kickstarter guru uh, is was in the chat, is in the chat. Ryan Clater.
Ryan?
Um,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he makes comics, autobio stuff, and pinball documentary comics.
What?
Yeah, pinball documentary comics. Go check
Really?
his site out, elephanteater.com. Yeah, so he teaches comics at MSU in Lansing, Michigan
Yeah.
here. Runs the comic program there, but is also a big Kickstarter user, supporter, and creator. And I've been talking to him about this book for years, and then as I was coming towards the plan of what I was going to do, I was like, well, I'm going to put it out as a webcomic for a year and a half straight, and then do one Kickstarter for one big book.
Yeah, and
And
that makes sense.
he said, but how about this? If you did 4 Kickstarters, it's a 4-part book. If you did 4 Kickstarters, that is both money coming in as you're making it.
Yeah.
And it is advertising and marketing for the book.
Wow,
so that when you get to that big book, at the end, that will be much more successful if you have built up the audience, built up the cred on Kickstarter. If I came to drop a 155-page graphic novel on Kickstarter as my first Kickstarter,
yeah, that's hard to.
It would be terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know what's more terrifying, but that would also be terrifying.
Oh, God.
I don't know if it's more terrifying than running 5, but
yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, like, then you get the experience, and then you can drop your goal to lower, and then again, like you said, then you're building your kind of audience, because every time you launch, they get that email. Another project launched by Jason Strutz.
Yeah, there are definitely people who didn't know me before this Kickstarter who now are on my mailing list.
Yes.
Which you can sign up for at returncomic.com.
Ryan, you're still here. Good. Were your ears burning and you had to clock back in? Just kidding.
So he was instrumental in helping me design and think about the Kickstarter. We had some meetings.
Good, man.
And he's a big supporter of Kickstarter and how that independent comic publishing can work on there, and in some ways work better than trying to take your book to a publisher.
Trying
to pitch a book and do all of that. I'm more interested in just in making a book.
Right.
And I have have any number of privileges that allow me to not be as super concerned about money or anything. I followed my wife around for 12 years for school, and now she has a good job. So that is helpful. So I have some ability to not be as stressed about all of that between her and between my other freelance jobs and stuff like that. I have some wiggle room there to not always be freaking out. So
and see,
can't say that it works for everybody, but
yeah,
the plan is just I'm letting people read it for free. It'll be up at returncomic.com throughout the whole book process as a free webcomic. And I think that really frees me up in terms of marketing and business decisions, where I can just say, oh, like, if you don't know if you like the book, just go read the book. Like, there's no barrier. Right. Like I could put it behind a Patreon and ask somebody for $1, but as soon as you ask for $1, your audience is destroyed.
Yeah. Well,
it can happen.
I have two minds.
It can happen. And I have a Patreon that I service with this book and future writing stuff. But like, the more people that I can get eyeballs on it, the more that I can sort of elevate, my profile. And some of this, the reason this book exists is to do that, is to have a more recent book. I think my last big graphic novel was, 8-9 years ago at the moment.
Yeah.
It was a book called The House of Montresor, which was a adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's Cask of Amontillado, and continues that story. So that was my last book, come out in 20 2013, 2014,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. No, it was
Yeah.
probably by the end 2015. Came out. I did that with my friend Enrica Jang. Met many years ago at a Baltimore Comic-Con, and we worked on that book. And now she's the director of the Poe House and Museum in Baltimore. So I do a bunch of work for them now.
That's cool.
So be nice to everyone that you meet at Comic-Cons,
I mean, seriously,
because you never know where they're going to go.
Exactly. Well, that and I mean, make your connections. I met my artist at Comic-Con. I had a different artist involved at first, and his schedule got too busy, which is common in comic book world, and so
Yep.
had to find someone else. And had done work with Gilbert on something small, and was able to say, "Hey, looking for a full-time artist. Is this something that you would like to do?" And he jumped on it. So. But yeah, that was just because the con was slow for an hour, and he walked around and came over to my
Yep.
table and introduced himself.
That's what you do.
You never know.
Do.
Yeah.
So that being my last big book, I had a bunch of small pieces, anthologies and things like that. But
Yeah.
that was my last big book, and I need something
current.
more recent to show people if I want someone to hire me for other things. So some of this project is, hey, just look at my work, and you can contact me another time. And that becomes a lot easier if I just say, hey, go to this website, look at comic. As opposed
But are you
to
going to
go
put
to
all of
Patreon.
them for free, Jason? You're going to put all of them for free?
Yeah. The current plan is just put all parts for as foreseeable future as possible would be available to read at the website.
Interesting.
So you can read at the website, and then you can come in if you want an easier to read volume. You can read it in book form.
There you go.
Personally, I like to read books, but
yeah,
this makes that sale a lot easier. The sale of just getting someone to look at a thing makes it a lot easier when you just send them to website. So I think that has worked well. It's lessened the stress in terms of feeling like it's not being looked at or found by anybody.
Yeah.
And then so far it seems to be a fine plan.
Gotcha. See, I have my first book up for free, so issue 1 is for free, and I have it on a bunch of different places. But after that, I figure book 2 and forward, it's like you can see like the first 4 pages, and after that, you got to pay something.
And that's totally reasonable as well. Nothing wrong with either of those.
Oh goodness! Trying to get a closer look. I'm gonna zoom in. Hold on. Yeah. Nice.
That's the one in progress.
Do you ever name them? That one is Zeke.
I haven't named them yet. It could be fun.
Yeah. You could also do a poll and get your fans involved. Let them name them.
So learned to write. Worked on small comics. Worked on medium-sized comics. Wanted something of my own to work on, and the big, the best thing that would come out of this is that I feel successful enough to just do another book this way.
Yeah. Okay.
So as I was coming back from 2020 and back from jobs and things, I went back to the Patreon that I had started.
Yeah.
And started doing a commentary on every page in the book. So looking at the layout, looking at the script, partly to give people something to look at, but also for me to refamiliarize myself with the story.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of documenting of building the story and building the comic and the layouts and everything on that Patreon. So the best result of this is, hey, I feel really good about how this went. I can go back to Patreon, build another story sort of behind that wall, build that story with a small community there to talk to and work with, and then do this again. put it out as another webcomic to Kickstarter thing, and it's all mine. I can control the pace of that. Now, if somebody wants to come and offer me a big check to publish a book, let's.
Hey.
I'm open to talking, but it would be a lot of that. Making sure I have those rights and making sure I have the ability to print new books.
Right. And to continue.
I know too many people that are like, oh yeah, I've done like 20 books, but none of them are in print, and I don't have anything on my table, and it looks like I've done nothing.
Yeah, and
because they don't control that print, the print runs. Once you're out of books, you can't make a publisher print more books.
Right. Or there's that, and there's also, like selling it for movie rights, where they're like, we own the rights to this now. You aren't allowed to do anything with this IP. And then they decide to shelve it. So it's like, not only is your book not getting made into this Netflix series like you had hoped, but you also can't continue to release it, which is just a nightmare.
Yeah. And that's like you've done all the work, and the economics of comics are not great.
No.
So like if you take a whole book out of my catalog to sell, like that's a chunk of money.
Yeah.
And like in theory, I can sell this book forever.
Right.
Because it's mine, and I can just print new ones when I need to print new ones.
Right. And I think that's the draw of being an independent creator like we are, where it's like, I'm in control of how often we release books. I'm in control of how many times I reprint stuff, even my variant covers. I can get people involved that I want involved, but it's like, I still have control over my property. And that's, I think, the draw. Lupin says Zombie McZombie Face is the one that would get her vote for one of the names for your creations there.
That sounds good.
Zombie McZombie Face. Thank you, Lou. I also want to mention that Jason has a YouTube, which I will be subscribing to. Ta-da!
Yeah, so there's a making of every page in the book.
Check it out, guys.
I do time lapse video of making everything, and then so I do all the inks on a page here.
Traditional. Wow.
Here's one in progress right now.
Hold please.
So,
please.
Oh no, you're good. One in progress right now. So ink wash, and white and black ink. So that's page in progress.
Cool.
So I do all of the inks on the table, and then I do all the coloring in Clip Studio, either on my desktop or iPad. And that does time lapse as well. So there's time lapses of everything.
That's so cool.
Making of. I did some math, and I figured out that if I put together all the videos, all 43 videos, which are about 4 minutes long a piece, it's about 3 hours of time lapse footage.
Gosh,
which is a terrible thing to think about, but
it's like it's hours and hours in the time lapse, you guys.
Yeah, hours and hours, and it sped up 300%.
Yeah, oh my gosh, so cool.
So yeah, you can see all the making of. Did a bunch of page reveal type things for one of the month, like panel a day kind of thing in October, previous October.
Run. See, it's so cinematic. It really is. I really enjoyed it. Super
Thank you.
I like him. Very cool.
So yeah, I reading your book, I noticed that you did do the lettering, all the lettering for your book.
Yeah.
Which I've been bugging writers to do forever.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah, like you have the stamp on a book of doing all the lettering.
Yeah. And like
it's a learnable skill. It's a set of rules, as most things are. I subscribe to everything is learnable, but it's a very learnable skill. You got to be able to look at how everything works, but you can figure it out.
Right.
But yeah, and then you get that final stamp. You can do edits. I know in this book, when I finalize pages, I'm adding balloons, I'm adding dialogue, I'm changing stuff,
adding
based on like how this art came out. Like maybe is not, this dialogue doesn't vibe with the art at this time. So
Right.
I'm going to change some dialogue. Or I thought of something else while I was drawing and put that in and change dialogue there. So
Right. Or my editor gets in there and she was like, this might make more sense, or you might want to change this, or this needs to sound like that. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
so
And
it's
as
just
an independent person, like, do you want to go back to your letter and say, well, change this but to an is, and
or rewrite this whole section. I
that'll be
rewrote
$20.
these 2 pages. Can you please do it all again? Hey, hello, Alum Gamer. Nice
So
to see you.
I've been trying to bug writers to do their own lettering for a while. It's like, oh, it seems, and then you can fend off those people who come to the table who don't really know how comics are made, perhaps. And you say, oh, I write comics. And they're like, oh, so you write the letters in the comics? And they're like, no, I write a script and someone else does the lettering and someone else does this.
Yeah.
And that way you can just say, yeah, no, I write comics. I write them and I write them.
Right. And I think it's important as a creator and for someone that, manages the team, especially the artist team, that I understand the art process. So I understand like what I can do to help them be more efficient. So in my script, I have symbols all throughout my story. I know what they look like, right?
Yeah, I
But
really
like
appreciated some of that
colorist,
stuff in your book, all the sign language and
yes, the way the
talking
discs work.
that happened.
Right, like, the disc is I always have to remind them, or I was like, they're gray until you activate them, and then if they're living, they're green, and if they're undead, they're red, and that they alarm, and they don't stop alarming, for the red ones. So it's like, I always have to and I have to remind people, like, the undead, they don't bleed. So they might get wounds, but they're not bleeding, like, you can't do that, can't taste, some of them don't remember, they all have gray eyes. And so when we start, the next issue, I always have to remind them, that these things, but it always helps my
But you had that
colorist.
stuff in mind.
Yeah. Because sometimes he'll be like, is it day or night? And I'm like, my script doesn't say that. But he's not necessarily reading the script either. He's going off of the art.
He's
Or
looking
he
right at
maybe
the
read it
page,
like months ago. And so it's always for me to be like, okay, it's morning, it's night. This is the color. This is what the things look like. And this is the color of the skin that this person needs to be because they're undead and they need to blah, blah. Yeah. So it's being efficient to understand their process so they don't have to go back and touch it 65,000 times.
Yeah.
As I'm
Hopefully
currently writing my
very
own.
appreciated. Yeah.
Lou, that's great. I am so proud of you writing your own comic and you're not a writer. That's okay. Start somewhere. Let people read it. Pops proofreads. I help people a lot of times. I'm not a proofreader. I'm not going to catch all your commas and things, but what I will catch is if there's loopholes. I like to read and just be like, well, this is great and this is great, but they don't connect. Maybe this is the way we can make it connect and help you find a way to connect it. And just I like
editors are important.
Editors are essential.
Editors, test readers, all that.
Beta readers, all of that. Let people read it and tell you what they think, but let them be absolutely 100% honest with you. I never ask people for a critique unless I actually want to hear what they're going to say.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want you to give me fluff. Don't tell me you like it just because I'm a lady.
And triangulate like what is real criticism, what is something that you want to do, maybe something that you don't want to do. Like,
right.
You can get criticism and then say, well,
yeah,
that's just like your opinion, man.
Right. Well, and they might not have like the big picture. For example,
exactly.
I was told in my issue 1, there's a scene where Jude St. Clair is paying attention to this glass. He is, he pulls it out of a zombie hand. It goes flying into the air and he risks his life to save this glass. And someone was like, why is it so many pages? It takes too long. And I was like, why do you think it's so many pages and I'm directing attention to this glass? You see what I mean?
Yeah. There's a reason. The reason. So
I know the reason. He doesn't know the reason. So there's a reason. So yeah, so you don't necessarily need to take all the advice, but I'm going to have something to share soon. Excellent. I look forward to it. I love the little red. Oh my goodness. That makes it, doesn't it? It really does.
Really finishes it off.
Yeah.
So yeah, the red, in terms of comic comic making things. The red eyes sort of replace speed lines for me, which I've never been great at using speed lines. But they have these red glowy eyes that leave trails. So wherever they're going, like that red trail sort of shows where they've been, what direction they're moving.
So terrifying to see a horde and just like this red mass coming towards you.
Yeah, then you can have scenes with dark scenes with just glowy red eyes,
right.
which are really easy to draw. That's cool.
Hi, Josh Perry.
Nerdy comic book making things, and then like the ghost in the book.
Yeah.
The spirit of Vale, and every undead dead person there, is also like a real hoity-toity comic concept of like, this is a comic character. So what is the like most basic form of a comic character? And in trying to figure that out, hit upon that idea of like, well, the most basic form of a comic character is this like skeleton that you would sketch out first, like your gesture drawing. The first most basic aspect of a comic character is this physical gesture drawing. Is my real hoity-toity comic person metaphor there.
Yeah.
How I came up with that stick figure basically coming out of the back of all the zombies.
And I like that it's blue because everything
blue,
is so warm. All the colors you chose are warm colors with the fights and the blood and the excitement. And then this blue, this like ethereal blue just stands out. So
it stands out. It's also like a blue line drawings in comics.
Yeah.
As kind of the most basic part of a comic character. Can start out as like a blue line stick figure drawing. So yeah, that's the spirit.
Thanks, Josh.
So try to put a lot of fancy thought behind it.
Yeah, this is cool. Now, when you named your main character Vale, what was the thought behind the name?
So the name first came during that 24-hour comic day, where I was like, I don't have a name for this person yet, and like I didn't need it necessarily,
right?
For a bit into the book, but I was like, okay, like I came to a panel where someone needs to say her name, and I asked the room of 7 or 8 people there with me at 2 a.m. of like, I need a name, give me names. So like,
and they came up with it. No fair. How did they get so spot on?
Somebody came up with it. I don't remember who, and nobody else remembers who.
You were also tired.
We were all very tired. Somebody said Vale, I believe. This is how it happened. Somebody said Vale, and I was like, oh, I like that because it also means things. It's a beginning. It's a valley between things. It has some of that weight behind it. So it has some of that metaphorical weight behind it. And
in my mind, it's like when you pass through the veil, you're on the other side, kind of looking back, and that's what she's doing. Is she's behind this veil of this is her body's zombie, and she's just she's looking through. You know what I mean? And she's an unwilling passenger.
Yeah, so it fit with all the themes, and I was like, that's perfect. So that's what I named that 24-hour comic, was just Vale. And then knew I needed probably something a little more marketable for putting out a book, because like Vale doesn't mean anything. Not necessarily that Returned means much more, but at the very least, I don't have to tell people how to spell it. I'm like, my comic's called Vale, and it's like Veil. Like, no, Vale, and they're like, well, that's not a word.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to be at Grand Rapids Comic-Con in November?
So I don't have plans to be there. I haven't done Grand Rapids Comic-Con for a few years, but I do want to start coming back probably next year, and give that a try. I had some not bad experiences, but just like, well, this is a long 3-day con, and I probably didn't come away with enough to make that worth it.
Yeah.
But it is something that I want to do more. But I've been doing a lot of smaller conventions. I hang out at the farmer market art Sundays once a month in the summer.
Do you do zombies for that?
Yeah, I do. I take all my books. I sell books there. I sell horror stuff. I sell Poe things.
That's
I do
awesome.
paintings and things like that. So I go to these places that maybe I'm one of 2, one of 3, one of 10 people maybe at this thing making comics, making horror stuff, as opposed to going to like giant Comic-Con where I'm one of 100 people there, and like that's rough, and it costs a lot to do.
Yeah. I don't know though, because at least with the Comic-Con, that's your intended audience. I've done farmers markets. I have a whole food business as well, right?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I make hot sauce and I bake goods and stuff
Oh, that's
like
right. You did have a hot sauce on them.
Yeah.
One of
And
the
so,
episodes I saw.
yeah, this one, the new
Do
one.
people trust your foodstuffs while also selling zombie books?
They're related. But here's the thing. When I go to a farmer's market, so I just rearranged the percentage on my table. So like when I do a farmer's market, it's like 90% food items and then 10% books. I'll bring my rack and I'll put, some books on there, but I'm not bringing the whole haul with me because I find that the farmer's market people are like, they're buying baked goods and they're like, oh, and you do comics. You know what I mean? So they're not really there for that. I don't sell a ton of
the
comics.
ones, so the farmer's market near me has days that are just called art at the market.
Gotcha.
And it's separate from the food days.
Gotcha.
So this is just people selling art stuff. So that could be knitting, that could be sweaters, could be paintings, could be comics.
Photography.
Zombies.
I get you. That makes more sense because I literally
probably
had
more of a targeted audience.
Yeah, I had someone pick up my comic book, and then put it back down, and tell me I like westerns, but I like the Bible better. Like, okay,
Well,
thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, I don't have any Bibles to help you with.
Do you want to buy some sourdough instead? I mean, chocolate chip cookies. We can do that too. Oh my gosh!
Surely you like chocolate chip cookies.
Everybody
you don't have to like it more than the Bible, but chocolate chip cookies.
Right. Well, see, that's where when I can go to Comic-Cons and bring cookies, not all of them. Some of them say no food items, but because you get the person that's looking at the books and then you get their support friend who is basically there to walk the con with them and not buy anything. They're the ones where I'm like, would you like some cookies?
They're
like,
that's a good idea.
So
good idea.
Lou says, which name are you talking about, Lou? Are you talking about for the book or are you talking about for the character? I'm just curious. Nobody suggested Insomnia for a name. Or are you talking about for the event, the 24-hour event is called Insomnia? I'm just curious.
Always part of my name choosing process is doing lots of Googling.
Yeah.
And trying to find anything else named that thing.
Yes.
Somehow there was not really something called Returned.
Really?
But there's most definitely something called Insomnia.
Yeah, there's probably a lot. That's part of, I did that too. The original name for my series was called Dead West, and I found like a book series and 3 bands that were called Dead West, and I was like, well, that's not going to fly.
Yeah, that's out.
Asking for a name at 2 a.m. Oh.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
If you're just like, I need a name, and they're like, Insomnia.
That's
funny.
We're all in work mode at that time.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody was focused. I'm surprised. And that's why I was like so surprised. I was like, that came from that group, that tired group. That's amazing. But sometimes that's where like
full of sugar, full of caffeine.
Well, and like half awake. I find like that's when I'm the most creative. When I wake up at 3 a.m. and I'm trying to go back to sleep, but I'm not quite awake and I'm not quite asleep. That's when I'm like, aha.
That's when you got to write yourself unintelligible notes.
Yes. And then I'm like, what the hell did I write?
Jelly donut. What does jelly donut mean?
Right. What? The Western.
It seemed so good at the time.
Jelly donut is the name of the other dog since we have sad pancake. Just kidding, guys. I'm not doing it. That's funny. Are you going to have pets? You did mention a dog.
So there's not really any dogs in it either.
No,
Just,
you're just like warning people,
just,
like
just making jokes. Yeah.
we don't kill up. You're not on. I probably am on that website now. Does the dog die?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a website.
Probably are now.
I
I don't want to be on
probably
the
am.
website.
Sorry. No, I'm not. I drink your tears, everybody.
Mm-mm.
So, oh, my friend, we are about at that time. So I've really enjoyed watching you do art. Not only just art, zombie art. It's amazing. So, are you
Yeah. So
planning on being at any shows in the future? Where are you going to be that people can see you, follow you, maybe touch you?
yeah. So I'll be somewhere around here for Free Comic Book Day. Haven't figured it out quite yet.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be in Kalamazoo.
Oh, that's Pops.
Kalamazoo in July at
Okay.
Rocket Comics.
There you go,
and
Pops.
then next month is Cherry Capital Con in Traverse City, Michigan.
Which one?
So Traverse City is
in Traverse City. Oh, that makes
Cherry
sense.
Capital Comic Con.
Yeah, cool.
C4, and they have it at a very fancy resort there, lots of pools and things like that. So that's a 3-day con. So I'll be there all 3 days at Cherry Capital Con.
There's some good wineries up there too.
There are, yes, absolutely.
That'll be
And
nice.
nothing for June yet, but I'll figure out something. But I do a lot of comic shop appearances for anniversaries and things like that.
Very nice.
Very interested in places that are excited to have me there.
And I totally forgot about this. I was going to show off your website to everybody too. So here's the website, my friends. It's returnedcomic.com. I'm going to drop that in the chat.
I got to change my header on there. One of those. Cool.
But you can head here. Again, Jason is putting the comic up so you can see it as it comes out with the chapters. There is also a shop. There's a link to the Patreon. They have a link to the art website. There's a ton of stuff here, you guys. So make sure you go check this out as well.
Continuing to build out everything there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so part 2 has started.
I love how it says, this is where merch goes.
So part 2 has started. Started posting that last week. So we're up to 3 pages into part 2. So you can read through all of part 1. You can grab the PDF at the Kickstarter, and then jump right into reading part 2. And then the next Kickstarter for part 2 would be in September this year. So all of September, launch September 1st, end the end of September. And in that Kickstarter, I'll also be offering tiers of, a print copy of part 1 and part 2. So you can jump on this now, and you can get print copies, at the next Kickstarter opportunity in September.
See, this is what I was talking about, where the POV, the camera is from the inside of her mouth, guys.
That was definitely something that was in the 24-hour comic version. At least partly as a easy to draw thing. I don't know why. I can easily draw the inside of someone's mouth. And then you only have to draw a teeny bit through the teeth.
That's why.
Started as a quick drawing hack, but also I use it probably a little more thoughtfully in the large book here as a way to remove the humanity of Vale. So like when she is in zombie mode, when she has lost that humanity, the viewpoint can switch to inside her mouth, and then you are you're removed from that humanity. You don't see her face, and also I think that it might make you like her a little bit more, because if she's doing something bad and you see her face doing something bad, you can develop kind of resentment towards the character. But if I shift it to inside the mouth, you know that it's not really her doing this.
Well, and I mean, like, if they read the story, they get it. You know what I mean? Like that she's actually resisting, and that she's a passenger and on this whole thing, from the get-go. Here's the castle, you guys, this flying castle. Or I was just like, excuse me, what?
Flying Castle. Yeah.
Like flying as Dracula showing up, and then the green guy came, and I was like, "What the?" I was like, "I need to know more, please. I need to know more." Right, and
And
like
that is
here's like you are a
exactly
flawed
what it's supposed to be.
creation. It's like too much spirit, too little body, and I'm like, "Who is talking?" Um, there's much more going on here. So yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next. Very good. So guys, go to
Yeah.
returnedcomic.com. You can
Yeah,
click
sign up
around
for
there.
the mailing list on there. I do a like a week or sorry month usually monthly email, and in that monthly email I put in a small PDF of all the pages that came out that month, so you get kind of an issue type look to that. So you can get issues every month by signing up at the on the newsletter. And then you also get updates about all the Kickstarters, all the appearances, places I'll be. So that
Cool.
is the easiest and most consistent way to reach me,
Yeah.
as opposed to the crapshoot of social media. But on the topic of the
That's
crapshoot of
good.
social media, you can find me pretty much anywhere at Strutz Art, STRUTZART. So that's I'm on Facebook, and really trying to grow the Blue Sky account, which I really enjoy.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
So you
I was
can
like,
find
I
me.
forgot about that one. I made it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah. I've been enjoying that. Get some growing the audience there, and I appreciate that it's a fairly non-algorithmic platform where I can just say, well, if I put things out, people might see them, as opposed to Facebook and Instagram. I can put stuff out all day, and I don't know who's
Straight
seeing it.
into the
Who
void.
knows?
Yeah. That I feel
But
like
yeah, I
that
put stuff up
that's
on TikTok. No dances on TikTok yet, but all the time lapses, and I'm also doing guided view versions of the comic
Ooh.
on TikTok as well. If you're into reading comics on TikTok,
I tried that too,
yeah,
and I
find me on
didn't get
social
many
media.
people reading that. So,
Yeah,
but I'll definitely give you a follow
it's an
on
experiment.
TikTok.
Everything's an
Yeah.
experiment.
Yeah. I was like, I put a bunch of stuff on there with the comic, and it was just like no likes. But I put the bookbinding stuff, and people love it. So pick and choose your battles. Man.
You find what people are into.
Yeah.
Yeah, find me social media, sign up for that newsletter, and yeah, I'd be happy to come back as project
Oh,
keeps going.
absolutely. You are always
I'm really
welcome back
excited.
on the show. We have a good time here. Just make sure you book far enough in advance.
Mhm, mhm.
I think I'm booking into
Totally fine.
mid-September, so you might want to grab
Okay.
a spot for your
Yeah,
next
yeah.
campaign.
I'll talk to you
Um,
about it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And thank you for coming on. This was a blast. I feel like you and I are best. Did we just become best friends? I feel like that just
I think
happened.
so. I think
Um,
so.
I feel like yeah, that we
All
enjoy the same
our little
stuff here.
dudes that we did today.
Nice. Look, check it out, guys. Super cool. Bravo, sir. I wish I could
Thank
draw
you.
like that. I can draw, but not like that. Not like that. So, but that is the show today. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for coming out and hanging out with us and nerding out. And we'll be back next week, of course, with more indie creators. And be excellent to each other. Kiss your babies. And we'll see you next week. Thanks again.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Click on the tube and feel the vibe. Every show you crave right here live. Heroes and villains clash in the night. Madness Comic Network sets it right. Scroll through the list, find what you need. Epic battles and fast-paced speed. From capes to cosmic space delight. Tune in and watch your favorites ignite. On Facebook, share the thrill so grand. On X, the buzz across the land. Madness Comic Network all around. In every episode, joy is found. episodes, they never end. Superheroes and their friends, catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic brightens day.